All right, we have previewed the Florida State schedule for 2021. Now going to project what their record could be based on that schedule. And to be clear, this is not a prediction. Our official predictions won't come until the summer. This is simply a projection based off of this schedule and based off of their odds to win each game. Just a very conservative approach, grouping teams together in different groups, and again giving you just a projection. If they do better than this, it'll be a good season. If it's worse, I think it'll be a bad season. Kind of the middle ground for this team. And they were 3-6 last year. Here's the schedule, and this is the scale that we will use if the game is a 50-50 game where the spread will be 3 or 4 points, maybe less than that. It's going to stay in the white. Less than 10% in red, 10 to 25% in orange, 26 to 40% in yellow, 60 to 74% in purple, 75 to 90% in blue. If it's more than 90%, it will be in green, and that is where we will start. I think you've got a couple of games. You got Jacksonville State and UMass, 2 games that Florida State should win. They should have no issue at all winning those games. And again, it's kind of tough to do these projections even this early on because there's so much going on with the transfer portal and everything. And Florida State is a team that's really tough to figure out because they have so many transfers coming in, the guys that could be impact players. This team could make a huge jump next year, or this year I should say, but there is a lot of unknowns. So again, it's a conservative approach here, looking at last season, what the teams bring back, and things like that. So 2 easy wins, I think, for Florida State. And then you got one more game I think they'll be clearly favored in. That's Syracuse. Not a big favorite, 6, 7, 8 points, something like that in this matchup. But they're playing them at home. Syracuse is kind of down there at the bottom with Duke in the ACC right now. I know Florida State's not much above them, but I do think they are above them. And I'm going to say that this is not going to be an easy win. It's definitely a game Florida State could lose, but they'll be favored, I think, by about a touchdown. So now we go to the other side of this and look at the games where I think Florida State will be underdogs. We're going to start with the orange here, and there's Clemson. Clemson on the road, very tough game. I don't give them much of a chance to win that game. I think they'll be double-digit underdogs, and again, it would be a huge upset if they were able to beat Clemson. But that's really the only game I would say that they really don't have a chance in. There are, of course, many more very tough games here on the schedule, but that's going to be the one where, I think that they just don't have much of a chance. We'll go to the yellow now, and I think this is kind of the majority of the schedule, or not the majority, but the majority of groups here. Notre Dame, North Carolina, Miami, Boston College, Florida. These are games where I think Florida State will clearly be an underdog, but they won't be huge underdogs. They'll have a chance. It'll be an upset if they win, but they're going to have a chance, I think, in these games. Notre Dame is week 1, a big game there. North Carolina, they just beat last year, so they'll have some confidence. They'll have a shot. Again, I think it's going to be tough. Miami beat them pretty bad last year, but they're playing at home this year. You never know. Boston College, tough game on the road. And then Florida, rivalry game. So again, when you look at Florida State's schedule, I think the majority of this schedule is games that could really go either way, but most of them Florida State will be an underdog in. And then when we look at these other 3 games, Wake Forest, Louisville, NC State, these are to me 50-50 games. These are games that could go either way. Now, I would probably favor Florida State. Well, I don't know. They might be a slight underdog in all 3 of these games. It's very close. NC State, I think, would be the game where you're getting close to yellow range. I think they're down there in the low 40s, but I think they have a shot playing that game at home. And again, with Florida State, we just don't know how good they're going to be. How much better will they be with all these new players, or will it make a difference? It's impossible to say. So that's why it's a very conservative approach here, but I think they will have enough talent to have a shot in these games, and they're close to 50-50 games. So again, with Florida State, you've got 2 wins, Jacksonville State and UMass. You've got probably a loss in Clemson. Not saying they have no chance, but it's very unlikely that they win that game. I think they've got a shot against Notre Dame, North Carolina, Miami, Boston College, and Florida. Maybe you pull off an upset there, maybe even 2 upsets. And then Syracuse, if you take care of business there, it's going to come down to these games. Wake Forest, Louisville, and NC State. These games in white. That's going to determine the season for Florida State, going to determine if their record is good or bad. And the way we do this is we count the green games here as wins. This orange game is going to be a loss. The Clemson game is going to be a loss. So then we average the rest of the games out. And the formula that I use, it's, again, just kind of a rough estimate here. The Yellow games are counted as 40%, the white 50%, the purple as 60%. And then we just average those numbers out to give you the number of wins in those games. And for Florida State, when you apply this formula, the projected record for them is 6-6. So making it to a bowl game after a rough few years, I think it's not what Florida State fans really would like to see, but I think you would have to be somewhat happy with that. And again, if they beat Jacksonville State, Syracuse, UMass, and then they win all the 50-50 games, Wake Forest, Louisville, and NC State, they still would have to pull off an upset somewhere to do better than 6-6. And I mean, odds are they're not going to beat Wake Forest, Louisville, and NC State. You're probably going to drop one of those games. You're probably going to win one of these games in the yellow. And so that's why, again, when we average things out, the projection for them comes out to 6-6. So making it to a bowl game, not a great year, not a bad year. And that's just kind of the middle ground. If you do better than this, it's a good year. If you do worse than this, I think it's a bad year. And so they're right there in the middle again at 6-6. Do you agree or disagree? Do you think they'll do better or worse? Give me your thoughts down in the comments below.